everyone. I'm Alberto. Welcome back to Checkpoint, bi-monthly format where we give you updates on our upcoming games. In this case, we're going to tell you about Panzer Corps 2, and we have a special guest with us today, Mattia Pastorino, who is... Hello, Mattia.
Hi, Alberto. Hi, everybody.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Awesome. I was just about to introduce you. You're part of Volcanic team, who are the developers of a series of DLCs in Panzer Corps 2. So tell me, what are you guys working on now?
Currently, we are working on a trilogy, an Allied trilogy. We called it Allied Operations. It's a trilogy. It's a three-part campaign covering the entire Allied invasion of Italy. So from the landings in Sicily all the way up to the north and the final liberation of Italy. And here the idea is to create a continuous experience which spans along three separate DLCs, meaning that each DLC focuses on a different phase of the Italian campaign, but your army carries over. So it kind of feels like a one long campaign rather than three separate games.
Awesome. So of course, our most affectionate fans already know about this DLC, but we have some big news because at the end of this stream we're going to reveal the release date for it, but no spoilers yet. So in the Volume 1, what part of the Italian campaign are you guys focusing on?
Yeah, in the first DLC, we entirely focus on the Sicily campaign. So we will tell the history from the landings in the southern coast of Italy until the Allied wrap all the island together and began the invasion of Italy. So this is the first turning point for the Italian campaign.
And as the name of the DLC implies, you play as the Allies. But do you play as the British? Do you play as the Americans? Is it a combination of both? How does it work?
You play as both, meaning that in this first DLC, you will play as the British Commonwealth and the United States, and you will fight against the Italian and German forces, of course. In the following DLCs, you will play also with the Allied, and then things will come a little more complex, meaning that in this DLC, you will fight against Italian and Germans, but on the second and third, additional forces will be introduced, including, for example, units from Poland, New Zealand, or the Indian Gurkhas. On the Axis side, as well, the Italian faction will become more fragmented in the second and third DLC because there will be the birth of the Italian Social Republic and the broad partisan movement, while Germany will remain the main opponent.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it was a very international war with many actors from either sides of the conflict. But how many missions does Volume 1 have? How many scenarios?
This DLC will have 12 scenarios, which are divided evenly, 5 for the British, 5 for the Americans, and 2 with a combined army. And if I may, I can talk a little about how the campaign works and how...
Especially because I'm really curious to hear how the two converging paths are going to merge into one.
Yeah. So the campaign is built around two distinct operational paths. This is mainly due to reflect the actual history. So each path is unique in it has its own rhythm, technical challenges, and narrative, and they both converge into the final push toward Messina. So you will start with one faction. It's your choice to start with the British or the Americans, and then you will build your own core army. Then you will play as the other faction, and then you will create a second core army from scratch. At the end, at the beginning of the 11th scenario, the two armies are merged into a single force for the final missions. So by the end of the DLC, you will have a unified core army with both British and American units, and you will carry over this army into the second DLC.
Interesting. That sounds amazing. It's quite a unique system compared to the other DLCs that or campaigns that Panzer Corps 2 has had so far, right? I can't think of
Yeah.
any other DLC which has this.
Yeah, this is the first time Panzer Corps 2 scenario DLC has this feature. So we are kind of pioneers of this new way of creating a campaign which is divided into two paths, then converge. It has been quite a challenge for us, but we strongly wanted to create this DLC this way because we think that it's very historically accurate. It's very interesting to know what both sides, how the two sides fought this battle for Sicily, which is in a very different way.
Makes sense. Yeah, you guys are not new to trying and innovate on this sort of concept. The Cyrenaica DLC was also pretty unique in that regard, in the sense that it would allow you to play on basically on both sides.
Yep. Yeah. We tried in Cyrenaica to introduce something new, meaning in Cyrenaica you play the same campaign, but from the two sides fighting. Here you play a broader campaign as the two allied sides that fought this war, this campaign.
Well, since we're already on the topic, we've had a few questions. People asking whether or not it will be possible to import a core army from Cyrenaica in Allied Operations Volume 1, Allied Operations Italy Volume 1. I know the answer, but I would rather let you reply to that.
Yeah, the short answer is no. Unfortunately, this is not possible. This is mainly due for two reasons, I'd say. The first one is that from a historically perspective, it would make not much sense as there is a significant gap between the two campaigns, meaning that Cyrenaica is in 1941 and then the Sicily invasion is in 1943. There is the whole North Africa campaign in the middle. And then from a gameplay perspective, player would start with highly experienced units and equipment, which is not designed for the warfare in Sicily, meaning it would make little to no sense to have a Matilda 2 into Sicily. It would be very uncanny and very strange. So this would not fit well with the Italian campaign. Also, while it might be possible to justify this transition for the British with some compromises, it would be much harder to do so for the American forces, which would realistically require a fresh start. So you would have experienced units for the Brits and then green units for the Americans, but you don't have the Americans in Cyrenaica, so how to manage that? So these are the reasons why it's not possible to import your core army from Cyrenaica to Italian campaign.
I think that makes total sense, but if people are really interested in the developers covering that sort of gap in North Africa, let us know, because who knows, maybe after the trilogy of DLCs in Italy, maybe we'll go back to North Africa from the Allied point of view. We'll see. Earlier you mentioned that there are two converging paths, one from the British side and one from the American side, and they have their own differences. We're talking, of course, of different units, also different starting positions. So I have a really broad question for you. First off, I'd like you to tell us a bit about the new units, both on the British side as well as the American side, and then maybe we can also talk about the Axis units as well. But my second question will be, how do they differ from a strategy point of view? I'm talking of the two different paths.
Yeah, so regarding the units, we haven't added entirely new units in this DLC. There is a very good variety with the units already in Panzer Corps 2. But what we have done, we have increased the variety of the Axis defenses with two structures. The wooden pillboxes pillboxes, which are light fortifications that were deployed in dense networks and on fortification lines, and they were meant to slow the advances. Then we introduced the machine gun nest, which are, as the name says, they are nest of machine gun batteries. They were deadly against infantry, and they were used to strategically cover passes, roads, and beaches. So in this DLC, these are the only units we introduced, the brand new structures we introduced. We aim to introduce more brand new units in the second and third, ranging from the partisans to the Indian Gurkhas and all the Polish and New Zealand, South African, and all the kind of stuff. But this will come in the upcoming DLCs.
No spoilers.
Not by now, just ideas to what will come next.
Yeah.
Your second question was about
My second question was about the strategic differences between the two converging paths.
Yeah, so the two armies landed in very different spots. I mean, they were all on the southern coast of Sicily, but while the British tried to push on the east coast, the Americans went through the western coast. The Americans had a more easier route to cover. There were more roads. The defense from the Axis was less dense than near Catania, for example. So we tried to transpose all this in the gameplay and in the campaign. Of course, you will struggle to beat the enemy in every scenario. But while the Americans will have larger and more traversable scenarios, the warfare for the Brits will be more dense and more constricted around specific choke points and fortification lines.
Okay, that sounds very, very sensible and clever. I know that you guys like to, well, not just you, basically all the people working on new content for Panzer Corps 2 likes to add and implement specific mechanics that are unique to those campaigns and those DLCs. So what about Allied Operations Italy, especially the first volume? What kind of game mechanics did you introduce in this DLC?
Okay.
What kind of game mechanics did you bring back from other DLCs as well?
Okay. Yeah, we we did both things. I start from what we brought back from older DLCs, starting from Axis operations. So commendation points are back. So the commendation point system that we built up builds on what players have already seen in Axis operations, meaning that they are mainly earned by completing secondary objectives, and they act as a currency for high-value rewards like prototype vehicle parts or hero upgrades. You can choose when to spend them. You can spend them for short-term advantages or save them and stockpile them for bigger rewards later in the game. Yeah, so each choice about commendation points directly influence your campaign. So it's all about strategy and timing and deciding when to spend them. So this is what we carried over from Axis operations. Then we introduced what we like to say what we like to call narrative events.
That sounds interesting. Let's start with those. What are these narrative events, and how do they impact the gameplay?
Yeah, so the campaign is strongly grounded in historical events. We are very fond of history, so we studied a lot. So the players will get a context through briefings and in-game events in order to understand why each battle matters. So as I said, we studied everything from the glider landings at Ponte Grande to the final race to Messina. We try to introduce to include lesser known events as optional objectives. We call them historical. So these provide extra rewards and narrative depth, often with brief historical insights. Basically, we try to shed a light on the smaller and sometimes overlooked stories that don't always make it to the history books. Gameplay wise, how they work. Uh, when performing one historical objective or maybe a hidden event, you may trigger a small chain of events that will unfold in the upcoming scenarios. So, without making too many spoilers, maybe
Well,
if
maybe give one spoiler as an example,
okay,
so
so
we
in
can tease people a bit.
okay, yeah. So I don't say where, but you may capture an Italian general. This Italian general is the first captured general in this campaign. So what the Brits said, historically speaking, was okay. This is the first general, the first Italian general we have captured here. So we will offer him a dinner. And then the choice is yours. Would you like to offer a dinner to this captured Italian general, or maybe you want to send him on a ship back to Algeria in order to be in a prison camp? If you decide one of the two things, you will have a choice about what you want to do next. Maybe bribe him or torture. Not torture is not real, but it's an example. You may torture him, you can bribe him, you can free him, and so on. Based on the choice you make, you will have a different outcome that could vary to having an intel insight of about something in the next map, or maybe not. So it's really up to you to choose what you think is best, and then to witness what happens next.
And all these events, how rooted in history are they?
They are very rooted in history, let's say, meaning that all the historical events or the narrative events that we built up are grounded in history. They are all inspired by something real. It could be an heroic act by a British soldier. It could be the defense of a bridge. It could be a war crime, but they are all inspired to real World War II histories.
That sounds amazing. So one of the goals of this series of DLCs is also, to represent history much more in detail than many other games have done so far. And you yourself, I know that you are very passionate about history, and you also have a history degree. So I can imagine the amount of historical research that has gone into these DLCs. So I'm really looking forward to play them thoroughly. I played the beta, but I can say I was able to complete it so far. By the way, yeah, we will get to the topic of the beta. But first, I wanted to ask you about another mechanic that I know that it's in the game, and I know that it's very interesting. So, heroes. I know it's one of the big features in this DLC. So, what can you tell me about heroes in Allied Operations Italy?
Yeah, we took inspiration from what we did in Cyrenaica. In Cyrenaica, we added a lot of heroes, a lot of different heroes, and these many players liked that, many players didn't. So we tried to elaborate on that and find a new way to convey what we wanted to convey in Cyrenaica, which basically is to give to the player a variety of approaches when it comes to heroes. So we thought to introduce what we call upgradable heroes, which are, of course, heroes, which are not static, meaning that based on your choices, you can decide how these heroes evolve by selecting a specialization path. For example, a tank-focused hero may gain traits or stats that make them increasingly effective over time. So this allows heroes to develop in a way that reflects your actual playstyle. As an example, I love the tank gameplay. I love to be a Panzer general. So in my personal playthrough, while testing the campaign, I chose to specialize on tanks. So I chose the tank class path for one of my heroes, and I really focused on that and make him become a very well performer, a very good performer when it comes to tanks. So basically, you have different kinds of heroes with their paths. You can decide as common heroes on which units you want to place them into. So yeah, this is a way to have less heroes, numerically speaking, but with a huge impact on the gameplay. And how do you evolve heroes? You can do that by performing objectives or by scripted events, or also by spending commendation points when the prompt is asking you. So maybe a prompt could say, would you like to buy an upgrade rank for your upgradable hero? If you say yes, you spend, I don't know, maybe 2, 3, 5 commendation points, and then you can specialize your hero further.
Sounds great. Sounds very interesting. And these heroes, are they mostly historical, are they fictional, or a combination of both?
They are mainly fictional, meaning that they are kind of superheroes, but some of them are fictional, some of them are based on real people, on real soldiers, which performed heroic acts during the Sicilian campaign.
Do you have an example at hand?
We, for example, have Leonard Withers, which was a soldier that almost alone kept Ponte Grande, which we can see here in the video. So this is in the first scenario of Operation Ladbroke for the British. And so yeah, he was kind of a war hero. So we decided to introduce this historical figure also in our scenarios and the campaign.
I personally think that it's great that Panzer Corps 2 is able to pay justice to the men and women who took part in World War II and in those crucial years. There are so many heroical deeds that are less known nowadays. Everyone knows about the big names, but there are so many that deserve mention. And I personally think it's very cool that through these campaigns you guys try to pay homage to the less well-known ones. So yeah, awesome, amazing. Also, the fictional ones, I would imagine that once again, even though they're fictional, they are plausible in the sense that they are rooted in history and they are not. They are well suited to the setting, basically.
Yeah, of course. As I said, we are very fond of history. We want it to be as much historically accurate as possible. So we studied a lot. We learned a lot of things that we, as Italians, didn't know that happened in this campaign in Sicily. So yeah, we wanted to homage, as you said, important people in this warfare. But as I said before, we also wanted to shed a light on smaller and lesser known events. For example, the Biscari massacre. I will not say any more than this to not spoil anything, but when you will come to the event of the Biscari massacre, I hope that you will say, okay, I didn't know about that. It's very interesting to know this. So yeah, we wanted to share a little knowledge, a little historical knowledge to people that are, as us, very interested into World War II and history.
I think that's great. And speaking of historical features, I know that there's a mechanic called hidden caches. By the way, sorry, just a clarification before I forget. This is for the people watching at home. All the clips on screen, they say alpha footage, but they're actually from the latest beta. In the sense that the DLC it's really close now. We're going to reveal the release date in a bit as soon as the stream as soon as the stream is over. But just as a clarification, this footage is actually from the beta, not from the alpha version of the DLC. So sorry. Let me get back to my question and let me rephrase it. So I know that there's another mechanic or another small feature called hidden caches. So what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, hidden caches. We learned this over time. We learned that players enjoy being rewarded for going off the beaten path. This is something that we didn't do in Cyrenaica, and a lot of people asked about this. So we introduced hidden caches in this DLC. Hidden caches are small rewards which are scattered in the scenario. When the players get in a specific X, he will receive this reward. So we placed several hidden caches in location where it makes logical sense to find them, for example, cities or ports, but which are usually outside the most obvious routes on the map. So maybe there is a port or a city where usually you don't have any particular interest to go, but if you push yourself a little outside the boundaries of the mission and of the objectives, you could be rewarded. So these caches can contain meaningful rewards that can support your progression. For example, prototypes or enemy equipment parts. By these hidden caches, you can acquire, for example, enough parts to create a Tiger One, which is, as everybody knows, a very powerful vehicle. So by finding these caches, you can reach the point when you can deploy very uncommon and very strong weapons.
That sounds great. Sounds very original as well. So you mentioned that this DLC has 12 scenarios, if I remember correctly?
Yep.
Correct. So, out of curiosity, what's your favorite one? Your personal favorite one?
I really enjoy two scenarios. I enjoy, of course, all the scenarios, but I really love Jela, which is the second scenario for the American Path. This is because it is a defensive scenario, but this is something we learned from Cyrenaica as well. Playing defensive, it's not fun, meaning that if you only have to control a city or some objectives, it's not fun. So we try to push the player to defend Jela, but also to conquer some other objectives. And so you have this constant pressure from the Italians and the Germans, which are attacking Jela, but you also have to push yourself outside to capture airport on the other side of the map. So it's very interesting to play. And for a complete different reasons, I really love the last two scenarios. But mostly the Hauptkampflinie. It's a very difficult name to say. Basically, it was there were two fortified lines before and on Mount Etna. The terrain, it's rich of hills and mountains. The axis is very, very dug in. It's very difficult to cross these hills and these mountains. You have to constantly to conquer each bit of terrain. It's very hard, but it's very interesting to play. Every time I play that map, that scenario, I always say, "Oh, I really love this scenario," and it's strange because I played it, I don't know, several times. I don't know how many, but each time I enjoy this kind of gameplay. It really resonates with what I love of Panzer Corps 2.
Awesome. I haven't tried that yet, but maybe I will just get back to the beta and play it. Speaking of the beta,
Yep.
what's the current status of it? Without any spoilers on the release date, because we're keeping it for last. But what can you tell us about the type of feedback that you've been getting from the beta so far?
Yeah, as usual, as for Cyrenaica, we received a lot of very well feedback. I really thank all the testers for their work. It's amazing to see how many of you are really committed to Panzer Core 2 and in trying and giving feedback on the things that you love or you don't love. Right now, we are reviewing and processing all this feedback. We are putting a particular focus on adjusting some scenarios that were perceived a bit overwhelming by the testers. And then we are also working on balancing both the forces on the field and the prestige economy. In addition to that, we are polishing all text and refining the overall experience. So I say that we are in a polishing status right now. As usual, it's very hard to balance the experience. It's a very difficult game to balance in order to provide a nice experience for people that are playing on basic difficulty or people that are playing on a generalissimus degree of difficulty. Our aim, as usual, is to give a nice to play experience for all kind of players. So for the newbies or the very experienced players.
Sounds amazing. So, before we conclude and we reveal the release date, I have a couple of questions from the community. The first one, do we have the ability to save before choosing which route to take? I'm not sure if this by route, if they mean either historical events or the two converging paths, but what would be your answer to that?
Yeah, you can save it as usual before any particularly important decision. Regarding the routes, yes, you can explore both factions before merging the armies, but basically you don't actually have the need to save, meaning that if you start your campaign with the British, then you will play the other part of campaign with the Americans, and then you will merge the two armies. So don't worry, there are no particularly branching. There is no, if I do this, I can do that. You can do both paths and then merge your armies. It's really up to you from which faction you want to start your game.
Sounds good. The second question will be, what references did you use when researching the historical accuracy?
Oh, okay. We relied on a very wide range of historical sources, maps, and documentations to create the campaign as accurate as possible. So we consulted both general sources like Wikipedia, for example, but also highly specialized materials which were focused on specific aspects of the campaign. For example, I remember to consulting a website which was all about the Canadians in the Sicily campaign. It was very focused on the Canadian units, on the Canadian companies.
Just to clarify, the Canadians are playable on the side of the United Kingdom, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. They were one. They have had a major role in this Sicily campaign. And beside the historical accuracy, we also wanted to be very accurate for the terrain. So we relied on a combination of modern atlases like Google Earth and historical maps to merge what the terrain looks like today and how the terrain looked like in 1943, meaning that they are kind of different, of course, because now there are roads which were not present in 1943. Now cities are much bigger than they were in 1943. So by overlapping these two layers of informations, we tried to create the best accurate terrain possible, but of course, which was also playable. And so we took all the accurate terrain and made it gameplay-wise interesting for the player. So it could be not 100% accurate, but we try to keep it as accurate as possible.
Sounds great. Before we move on to the hottest topic, which is the release date, is there anything else that maybe we neglected to mention that you would like to mention?
Let me think. I guess no, but maybe one thing is worth to mention, which really touched, but maybe we can go a little in depth, is that we have mainly three kind of objectives in this DLC. They are the primary objectives, which are required to complete the scenario. So, for example, we have to capture Palermo. This is required to complete. Then we have secondary objectives, which rewards mostly commendation points. They are optional, but they offer very interesting rewards. So maybe the primary objective is conquer Palermo, and the secondary objective is also conquer the port of Agrigento. I don't know. And then we have the historical objectives that we talk about. They are inspired by real events, and they often trigger narrative developments that can carry into later scenarios. Something that is worth to mention also is that events can unfold in upcoming scenarios, but also smaller things you do in a scenario can reverberate in the upcoming ones. For example, maybe if I conquer this bridge in this scenario, in the next one, I will start my scenario with the bridge already conquered, and I don't have to conquer it again. So we wanted to create an experience that really unfolds based on what you do in each scenario. So yeah, basically these are the things I wanted to add to this discussion. They are very interesting. They work very well together. Our main focus, our main objective was to create a DLC that maybe when it's played by two different people and after they have completed it, they talk. What we want is that maybe one person finds out that the other person has had a different experience. So maybe, the classical thing. Did you found that the bridge there was holding an objective? No, I didn't do that. So it's very interesting to create this branching into the scenarios.
Very interesting indeed. I actually have two more questions from the community.
Yep.
The first one is from Dice Wrangler. In part 2 and 3 of the DLC, I assume that he means Volume 2 and Volume 3. Do all scenarios use the combined core, or are there UK or US only scenarios?
No, they are mainly with the merged core army, meaning that in this DLC you have two paths that then converge. You create your own core army, which is merged between Brits and Americans. And in DLC 2 and 3, you will use a core army with both factions together. But there will be some scenarios where you can also use Italian forces or partisan forces. And then, as we said before, a lot of different factions, like the Polish, they were very relevant in conquering Ancona, for example. But mainly, you will not have exclusive scenarios for the British or the Americans. They will be merged.
Thank you, and thank you, Das Wrangler, for this question. The next question is from Yuliug. Is inquiring how the Cyrenaica DLC and its initial reception has shaped the development of the Allied Operations Italy series.
I say a lot because we learned, as I said before, we learned a lot from Cyrenaica, from the feedback. So we tried to keep what was working in Cyrenaica and try to change what wasn't working in that DLC. But most of all, we used a lot of scripting that we achieved in Cyrenaica to create Italy Volume 1. So we built on our scripts. So we starting from a well-constructed basis of scripting, we had the chance to build up on that and evolve all our systems to create, for example, the narrative events and so on.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Mattia, and thank you, Juliug, for the question as well. I believe we don't have any more questions from the community, so I do have a question for you, or actually, everyone has this question. So, when is this DLC releasing? So, do you want to say it or shall I?
It's up to you.
All right. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's my job after all. So, Allied Operations Italy Volume 1 will be released on April 29. So, more or less a month from now, at a price point of $14.99. So, yeah, we're posting the release date shortly, I guess. So in slightly longer than a month, everyone will be able to play unless they've been part of the beta, in which case we're very thankful for all your feedback. So thank you, Mattia, for this great interview and this great presentation of the DLC. Any last word on your side?
Nope. I really hope. Yes, I really hope that. I really hope that this DLC will be enjoyed by Panzer Corps 2 players. We really tried to spice things up. I mean, this is, I don't know the number of this DLC. Maybe it's the 20th. There are 20 DLCs for Panzer Corps 2. I don't know. There are a lot of yeah. So we said, okay, they are all cool. We want to give our shape to this DLC. We want to change a little bit the things by keeping, of course, what makes Panzer Corps 2 the great game it is. So I really hope that you guys will love it as we loved creating it. So, yeah.
Awesome. That sounds great. And by the way, as usual, the feedback from the community and from other creators in Panzer Corps 2 is extremely valuable. So if you are part of the beta, don't forget to give us your feedback on the scenarios, because it's really useful. So Mattia, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alberto. Thanks to all the people here. It's been a pleasure to have the chance to talk a little about what we are up to.
Thank you to all the people at home as well. See you on the battlefield.
See you on the battlefield. Bye, guys.